Hi, it's Joy Foster, founder of TechPixies and the host of the Sparkle and Thrive podcast. And you are in for a treat in today's podcast because I am interviewing just an incredible woman who has embraced the learning and the community at TechPixies, and she's gone on to create something really important in the world. Dr. Clare Seymour, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Joy, and thanks for asking me. This is like the epitome of where I aspired to get to in my very first stage of TechPixies.
Oh, I love that. And one of the most important things that I like to do is showcase alumni stories because it really inspires people. And you obviously were inspired by an alumni story and wanted to be one. Do you remember which alumni story inspired you?
Well, it was, because this is going back a couple of years now, it was actually Sophie's, and your very first, just her thirst for knowledge, which I can identify with, and then just seeing that from having taken your course, she was then tutoring on it, and just such a great support.
Yeah, Sophie Bradley.
Stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and I love that story too because she was my very first online student, and she would be messaging me going, "When's the Twitter? When's this module releasing?" You know, it was early days when we weren't organized, and it was really done not perfect. All right, I love that her story inspired you. Well, I know your story is going to inspire the people watching today live or who are listening on the podcast. So tell us about your story. Tell us where you were when you found TechPixies and what you were hoping to accomplish when you joined.
Okay. When I was, that's it. Actually, to be perfectly honest, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know. So therefore, it took several pairs of brave pants to actually sign up in the first place. And then once I had, I thought I was in for just learning how to use Facebook. That was it. And it was, I had a little, I've been teaching, so I've had 30 years sort of in the classroom as a music teacher, and then had sort of moved into doing freelance work as a musician and doing a lot of traveling. And I was actually music examining in Delhi when the virus started and got recalled, came home, no work, everything had dried up. And I just remember having seen an advert about TechPixies, but I hadn't even really read it. But somewhere in my subconscious, it must have been there. And lockdown was announced, and I thought, this is an opportunity. I mean, it's very sad, and I didn't want the world to go that way, but because it was, you have to make the best of things. And so I thought, this is the opportunity that my family have been telling me for ages. I need to get on Facebook and I need to do social media just to put, because I've sort of as a side hustle, I'd written children's songs, and they'd sort of gone out into the community, and people kept saying to me, "You've got to publish them and you've got to get your name out there." And that just, well, that was something I didn't know how to do. And then I saw it was the 5-day challenge, the boot camp. And so it took me a lot of courage to actually do that. And then I thought, well, yeah, actually, maybe I should sign up and do a bit more. So I came from absolutely nothing, honestly, nothing as far as social media went. And it just so opened my eyes. So my aspiration in the very early days was just to do one little thing. And and I know a lot of people might not identify with this, but for me to be here on video with you, that's taken me 2.5 years of building up my courage. actually, and realizing that actually I can do it. And so in the early days, I was thinking it was just social media. I had no idea there would be mindset stuff and all the stuff that you need in order to become a successful tech pixie.
Well, it's really interesting you said. I think people can relate to it. People who I know a lot of people who would not get on a live video and do an interview because of this, fear of visibility, or just even, having the, when am I going to remember what I want to say, and all these different aspects. So I think there are people who are listening right now that they're like you when you listen to Sophie's story. I would love to be able to do that, and hopefully they will be able to do it just like you are. Now, what I love about what you've done is, once you realize sort of what you needed to do and what you wanted to do, you also realized there were certain strengths you had, and there were certain strengths that the community had. And one thing that I think you did really well was you engaged with the community, and hired people and gave people opportunities within the community to go on that journey with you. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I love that. I think TechPixies, because I've been thinking about TechPixies particularly for coming on here, and actually I've got like circles of TechPixie influence. I think that's the way I've looked at it. So I've got you at the center, my role model and inspiration. But then along the way, I have met such support and belief in me that, that I never thought I deserved.
Wow.
So, anyway, enough of that.
Well, but actually, let's just pause there for a second. First of all, I appreciate your vulnerability, and I also appreciate what you said. What you said is so important. You said, I got a lot of support I didn't believe I deserved. And I think this is very important, because everyone needs to hear that. They need to hear that they deserve support. They need to hear that they deserve to have someone help them get to where they want to go, if they're willing to have that support, right? And that's the first thing. But I think you're right. So often there's two steps here. One is, needing and wanting the support, but the other one is feeling worthy of and deserving of that support. And that's a fundamental right? We have a fundamental right to support in this world and in this life. And, and the willingness to be open to it is a totally different thing. You've got to have both, right? The belief that you deserve it, and then also the willingness to accept it. But I think what you've just said is really, really important for people to hear, because you're amazing, and what you do in this world is amazing. And you deserve all the support in the world that you can have, because let's just tell people what you're doing, because I don't think people, you've got them in, if you're watching this visually, she's got her music buds behind her, but explain what music buds is and what a gift it is to the world, because I think that will help people understand just how important it was that you got the support that you do deserve. And tell us more about music buds and what it does, because I think that's
Okay, and then I'll go back to, I must tell you about my Tech Pixie team, because
yes, I want to know all about the Tech Pixie team, but let's just explain what Music Buds is, and then we can do that.
Right, so I was teaching in an international school. I'll try and do this really quickly. This is a potted version. And then in about, so I was head of music and head of primary music, and I became aware that I wasn't particularly meeting the needs of the early learners, so 3 to 7 year olds, as well as I was the older age range. And so once I felt I trusted the head of early years, I went and said, I know I'm teaching them music really well, but they need so much more at that age. It's, it's divorced from what they're learning in the classroom. And so then she said to me, I love to teach them through songs, but I don't have the musical background to do it. So then we got together and she wrote lyrics with particular learning objectives in mind. So, for example, she'd have a class of children and she wanted to see, she thought some of them were struggling, which meant that they wouldn't be able to sit down and start to write. And one of the tests for that is to watch a child cross the midline like that. So to do an arc and to be able to cross that line. And so she said, I want a song that will demonstrate to me when the whole class are doing it together. So I'm not singling any child out, so they don't know they're being assessed. I need a song for that. So I think that was the starting point. So anyway, a long story short, we then wrote lots of songs for different objectives, and it just grew, it trickled. So other teachers listened to the songs and said, can we use them? And parents would come in and say, my child's come home singing this, can you give me a CD that we can use? So it sort of grew like that. So I'd done that as a sort of side hustle up until coronavirus, up until the lockdown, and then did the TechPixie bit. And I hadn't even realised that you can write, that there are online learning course platforms. And in my mind, I'd always thought I'd love to get this out online so that more people can see it. But I didn't know they existed. And it was only further down the line that I realised there were such things. And taking your course and seeing how you'd mapped it out, and I thought, yeah, this is exactly what I want to do. But just at that point, the George Floyd thing happened and Black Lives Matter hit. And I then thought, how can I relate what my knowledge, especially having done a PhD in education and sort of understanding about child development, I thought I really want to incorporate diversity and awareness of diversity and to promote positive diversity awareness in children. But actually children aren't the problem, it's the adults, really. So so from that, it's taken 2.5 years since starting at TechPixies, but I now have 2 CPD accredited courses ready to go. I beta tested them over the course of the last year. I've run it twice, and they have been quite successful with really nice reviews coming in. So I'm going to launch those on the 1st of October, and I've got a free 5-day challenge before that. So starting a week on Sunday, the 18th, which is called a Diversity Dash, which is just basically an overview of diversity, because I don't think people realise it's, again, people don't know what it is they don't know.
This is incredible. So you have created a music program, and this is for educating educators on how to, is that right? Or is it open to?
It is, no, oh, sorry, I should have said my elevator pitch.
That's all right. No, it's to get some clarity on what it is, because
yeah.
The main thing here, I just want to make sure people get out of this from a where could I be standpoint is Claire needed Facebook, and then she came in on this journey, and then there was a major incident, the George Floyd incident that happened, that shaped your perspective, and you said, I want to do something to help people. So you've taken your skills, expertise, and knowledge and crafted music that helps children become more aware of diversity. Is that correct?
It is. There are 2. I did.
And then you have a program along with that to help people.
Yeah, I had a 10-week course, and then over the course of last year, trialing it, I decided I'd separate out. So one is a theory, so anybody at all can do it, but I've targeted it at professionals, parents, and carers of 3 to 7-year-olds. But however, having said that, I had one teacher who took it and said, is it okay if my 2 teenage boys also do it because they're really interested in the way you've done it?
Wow.
So I think that's sort of open to anybody who's interested really, but my focus and my niche has been teachers and
Yeah.
parents, really.
And so, but this is the part that I just think is really special is that this wasn't on your radar when you started Tech
No,
Pixies.
not at all, not at
Yeah,
all.
that's incredible. And you've gone on to launch an online program. You've gone on to create programs that help educate around diversity through music, which is incredible.
Yeah.
And in doing that, in order to get it out into the world, you did have to, lean on your Tech Pixie community. So tell us about the amazing Tech Pixies you brought on to help you, and why that was so special for you.
Okay. I couldn't have done it without them, to be honest. Because it's such hard work learning technology and learning how to set up, well, how to do everything that you have to do when you haven't got funding behind you to just do it any other way, which I'm not complaining about because it means I really know what I'm doing now. But so a year ago, about this time last year, I realised that I knew what I wanted to do and I had the draft of the course, but I needed a lot of resources, like children's resources. So I then put out, with your permission, an advert on TechPixies just saying, or a post really, just saying, if anybody's interested, I'm trying to set up a diversity course. I think it might suit primary teachers. If anyone thinks they've got a couple of hours to spare, please do volunteer. And I got 12 responses, which was way beyond. And my idea was to just pick one person. Anyway, there were 4 really strong, interested Tech Pixies, all of whom were offering me a different skill set. And I think I spent the weekend just thinking, well, first of all, thinking, well, which one of these 4, because they're all offering such different things, which one of these 4 should I go for? And then just a voice came in my head saying, well, take them all.
That's the voice of intuition. I love it. And you listened to it.
Yeah, and I haven't looked back, really. They are just, they're so supportive. They lift me up. Um, they're just absolutely great. And so I've got, can I name them and
Yes, well, please do. And I know some of them, and I know they absolutely love working with you. So,
well, there's Annie, who, the brilliant Annie Soiser, who has had to step back now because she's so busy, which is wonderful and sad for me, but great for her. So she set off doing the graphics for the posts and for the courses. And then Neva Brentnell, who was also in my cohort, came on board as she's a mother, so she's got children. She's really committed to diversity, and she just gets it in a way, and also she gets me, and she is the one that drives me and says, well, Claire, have you done this, and have you thought about that, and what's the
we all need people like that in our life.
So I think she's like the powerhouse, really. And then I've got the brilliantly creative Kirsty Bingham, who works absolutely solidly because she was a primary school teacher. She's done Tech Pixies. She's branching out into work within sort of social media manager type stuff, and she just creates the most brilliant, colourful, attractive resources for children and teachers, and comes up with ideas that that go way beyond what I've been thinking of. And it's just, so that's an absolute delight. And then I've got Helen Errington, who only started TechPixies last year, saw my post, had been or was head of early years in a small school, and she was on sick leave and said, "This really speaks to me. I'd love to, really like my story. I'd love to be part of it, but I don't, what can I offer?" And actually, she's now taken a copywriting course, and so she has been through with a fine-tooth comb everything in the courses.
Wow.
And I thought that English grammar was my thing, but I have so learned that it isn't. So she's really helped with that. And then I've got a privilege to work with Rachel Bunger, who she's another unconfident tech pixie, but with so much to offer. And so she's working as an intern now because she wants to gain her CPD from Tech Pixies. And so she's now doing graphics for Instagram. She's chosen Instagram, and that's fine with me because I honestly don't have the time to commit to social media in the way that I need to be doing it. So they carry a lot of the load. And I
love that. And I love what you've done is you've created an environment for someone who wants to do something to get their CPD or to actually try something out, where it's a safe environment. They can try it out. They know that you trust them and you're giving them some reins to do what they want to do. And that will give them the confidence they need to then go off and do the other things. Like you said, Annie's now too busy to stay, but she probably got a lot of confidence from working on your project. So I love that. And that's the thing I love about Tech Pixies is, very often you find people do work in many different ways with each other, in volunteer capacity, also in paid capacities. And it's just about, what you're sort of working with someone who's got the similar mindset to you and has made those mindset shifts. And like you said, you don't know, you don't know, people don't realize how important and impactful, getting support is, being in a like-minded community, and also that it's not just about the social media, it's about the mindset changes you need to make in order to use social media effectively. Yeah. I'm really excited that you're going to launch this. And, it's really amazing. And I also think one thing that you really highlighted for those listening and watching is, and I'm not going to, this is my snail, which one of my students gave me. I have a bronze snail that Amanda Parkin gave me. And she said, "I bought this for you." And I have no idea why I bought this for you. And when I thought about it, I thought about the fact that, even the snail gets to their destination as long as they move forward. And one of the things I really respect about you is that you have taken your time to figure out what it is you need, what it is you want to do. And you haven't beat yourself up about it, or if you did beat yourself up about it, you stopped doing that and just recognize, I am where I am, And one of the things I say at Tech Pixies is, you are where you are. People always go, I'm behind. I say, no, at Tech Pixies, you are where you are. And there's a reason that sometimes things take longer to process or to do, but as long as you're taking a step forward every single day, you will get to your destination. You may not get there as quickly as you would have liked, or you might get there faster than you'd like. Usually it's the other way around. Usually we get, and I'm the same way. I've been working on something for almost 3 years, and it's just taking its time. And, like sometimes you can't force things to move any faster, but if we don't give up, and we keep moving forward. There was a quote actually in my full focus planner the other day, which was great. And I'll see if I can find it, while we're talking. But it was just really simple around, just if you don't quit, you're not, you're not defeated until you quit, right? And
Yeah,
I have a friend who said, I am not defeated. And I sort of remember that on a regular basis. Like if I haven't quit, I am not defeated. And
that's it exactly. And you've just, because it's so tempting to, especially in the early days when I was starting and I was seeing so many others who'd signed up, but who were clearly not only talented, they were just, well, years ahead of me. And that it is compare and despair, and looking at it and thinking, I can't ever, ever hope to get there. But what I can do is follow my own story. And I think that's what I've done, or what I'm doing. I mean, and also treating it as, um, not exactly a game, but, um, I've just got to keep going. And I like the snail, but for me, I think of myself as a tortoise, and I
oh,
am,
I love that.
I can just plod. And I'll get there in the end, and I might have muddy feet, and I might, not, it might not be world-shatteringly brilliant, but I just have to keep putting one foot in front of the other, and
I
I'll
think
get.
you are world
Mm,
shatteringly brilliant personally, but let me just, one thing I like to do. I mean, those of you who know me know I love spirit animals, and I'm a Christian, but I also
yeah,
feel that God has given us the gift of these amazing animals, and there's traits in animals that that when these things show up, like the tortoise or the snail, that are very interesting. So the snail symbolism is, it's a gentle reminder to always be kind to those around you, which is so funny because my shirt says be kind. And it says the universe shares something with us more often than not because we have not noticed something important. So it's taking the time to notice things that are important. The
mhm.
tortoise, on the other hand, which I love, and this is so great, and I love that this is your spirit animal. It's one of the most revered and sacred symbols in feng shui, and it says the tortoise represents wisdom, endurance, and long life.
Oh,
So there you go. And I think it's a really important conversation to have. That we at Tech Pixies, we have women mostly in their midlife, right, 40s,
mm,
50s, 60s. We have some women in their 70s, and it really is. It's about making sure everyone at any age knows that they have the capacity to learn, they have the capacity to do something new, they have the capacity to change their life, enhance their life, and change and enhance the lives of others, through their own transformation. And whether you get there as a tortoise or a turtle or a hare or a racehorse, it doesn't really matter. It's the fact that you're moving towards that impact and you're making that impact. So I know your program is going to have a huge impact on the people that participate in it and the children who benefit from it, and the teenagers in some cases who
thank
benefit from
you.
it. So I am so grateful to you for um, for being a part of our community, for never giving up, and for putting one foot in front of the other, and just holding on to that endurance and believing that it's all going to work out, and also bringing others along on the journey with you. What a gift that is.
Yeah, that's fun. I wouldn't be without them for anything now.
I
Yeah.
love that. Do you have any final parting words that you want to say to people about if they're on the fence about, do I join Tech Pixies? Do I not join Tech Pixies? What would you say to them?
Oh, I'd say without a doubt, do it, without a doubt. But, it doesn't, I think people, or like me, I thought, first of all, I just wasn't the right, um, demographic. I'm a bit too old, long in the tooth. Not I've never done social media, et cetera, and, it just opens your eyes, and even if you find that social media isn't for you, at least you've discovered that. And it's not a, and also you're saying about failure, there is no such thing as failure. There's just, you just move on. And yeah, it's so much more, it's such a holistic program. It's not just about social media, it's about you as a person. And if you want to be supported and loved, join TechPixies. There's a whole world of women out there to support you.
Oh, I love that. Well, thank you so much. And if anyone wants to find out more about your diversity in music program, where do they go?
Well, we're all over social media channels at the moment because of my wonderful team. So you can find us at Music Buds on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or you can just, if you DM me on probably Facebook is the best thing, and just get in touch that way. But also there's a website. If you just look www.musicbuds.org, you'll find us. And
Amazing.
yeah, but please do get in touch. It's we are, I mean, I hate saying because it's been politicized, but we are stronger together in the TechPixies community. So yeah, and thank you to you, Joy, because you know, without you, none of us would be here.
Well, it's interesting. Just we'll close on that note because it's really important, probably, for me to say this. There have been so many times where I've thought, this is hard.
Yeah.
Keeping this going is hard. And I think hearing you say that, is that point where you just go, that's why I keep doing it, right? That's why I keep doing it. And I have my own moments as someone leading a company, as someone, at the center of a community, where you think, is this worth it? And having a conversation like this always reminds me it's 100,000% worth it. And I appreciate the encouragement you've given me, because you never know when that encouragement is most needed. So thank you. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Well, we'll catch up another time, but I appreciate you. Have a great day. And thank you to those of you watching and listening. Just stay tuned if you're live, because we've got another podcast coming up with Benita right after this. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Bye, Claire.
Bye.
All right. Well, that was a treat. I love meeting and talking to alumni who have been in our program for a long time, and are making progress, and every single day. So one of the things that I say to people is, every day in every way, I'm getting better and better, and that's a really good mantra to have as you are working through or working towards who it is you want to be and become. And it's part of my brain prime. Every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. Now, it's also part of our Dream Builder program. And next up, I have a wonderful guest from the Dream Builder program. But because this is a live podcast and we have to edit it and stick it on the actual podcast, I've got to start this whole thing all over again. So we're just going to pretend like we're starting from scratch. So I'm going to invite Benita to come onto the stage, and we're going to start the podcast the way that we normally do. Hi, it's Joy Foster, founder of TechPixies and the host of the Sparkle and Thrive podcast. And I am super excited today to have one of our dream builders and TechPixies, Benita. Hello, Benita. We're so excited that you're here. Now, I apologize. I don't always get everyone's names correctly, so I want to pronounce your name correctly. Could you just...
I am Benita Triffitt. Yes.
Triffitt. There we go. And Benita, we are so delighted because you have been in the TechPixies program, and then you also have done the Dream Builder program. And we've got a vision workshop coming up, and that's what I'm super excited about. And we've got another Dream Builder program launching, and I know that your story is going to be a great one. So tell us. Usually your little thing says Benita in Edinburgh with an exclamation point. I'm not used to seeing the whole professional name, but you are in Edinburgh, so you're one of our Scottish TechPixies, or Scottish-based TechPixies.
Yeah.
So tell us how you came into the TechPixie world, what you've been doing in TechPixies, and we'll go from there.
I was terrified of social media. I was always on Facebook, and Facebook was great because it was a way of being in contact with friends and family, you know, around the world. And when they moved, you know, if I lost their, you know, their mobile phone, I could connect. So Facebook was a friend. And I can't remember. I think is it Albert Einstein who said that time exists for everything to happen, you know, not for everything not to happen all at once. Well, for me, that didn't happen. Everything happened at once, where I'd been in a 20-year marriage, and me and my ex-husband decided to call it quits, which I was devastated about. Then we had the pandemic, and I got so lonely. And then I got a diagnosis of, thank goodness, but, you know, primary breast cancer. So I thought, oh my goodness, Albert Einstein was wrong. Things do happen all at once, and time is just not coming into it. So I had all these things happening, but I had Facebook, my friend, and up popped you. So it was a Facebook ad, and it was just sort of like, oh my goodness, where has this come from? This is a glorious message, just saying, join a boot camp, you know, get your skills up. If you want to change career, if you want to get your tech skills, you know, all the things that I just felt that I'd been out of the workplace. I was on my own. I had 2 sons, but my whole world had just completely changed. So I signed up and I did the boot camp, and I loved it. It was so much fun. And literally within day 2, I think it was a 5-day course. And within day 2, you know, social media fear had changed into social media fun. And the whole social media thing for me is just total fun. Total fun. Never worry about compare and despair. Don't worry about, you know, people doing better. You know, of course, you know, they want to present something watchable. So, you know, that's what it is. It's not, oh, my life is crap and theirs is brilliant, I better stay quiet. So that's where I joined. I joined at boot camp, and then, you know, there was the thought of, I could do this for a whole year. I need a year, you know, to just understand the platforms. So I signed up for I think it's changed names.
It has changed. We now have, just so that it's clear, we now have a social media accelerator, which is just 6 weeks, because we know some people just need that 6-week boost. And then we have the social media management certification, which is 12 weeks. So it's, the 2 programs combined is about 18 weeks. But people have access to the curriculum for a full year, and they can top up and do another round or another accelerator, you know, that sort of thing. So it has changed a little bit since you were in there. We did used to sell a year-long program, and we just found that in this economic environment where the energy prices are going through the roof, where you know, mortgage prices are going up, everything's going up because the interest rates are changing as well. I just thought, right now people need to get skills fast so they can make more money fast. And so we've gone from what was sort of a year-long program back down to what originally was a 90-day program. We've pretty much sort of gone back to that. And you could do the whole thing within 6 weeks for the main certification, and then, you know, within probably 18 weeks you could do the actual social media management certification if you want to be a social media manager. But a lot of people just want to get those skills started and get going, and that's what we found. And I think in this environment, I was really inspired, actually. This is a little bit of a side note, but I think it's important for people who run their own businesses to hear this story. There was a movie about a car guy who he made cars, and it was a car that had 3 lights, right? So it was a unique car. No one had ever done it before. And anyway, there's a scene in the movie, and obviously we'll put it in the show notes because I can't remember all the people at the moment or even what it was called. But the guy reminds me a lot of my dad. And which is why I also love film, and my family loves cars. So it's like a lot of things that we love. But anyway, he goes with his family. He has like a really bad day in business, and I think like an investor pulled out or something like that. So he decides he's not going to wallow in his sadness, but he's going to take the whole family to the ice cream shop and like celebrate, sort of almost celebrate the loss, and, you know, just, you know, try and change the mood. So he gets to the ice cream shop with his family, and he sees a newspaper advert selling something that doesn't exist yet. And he's like, oh, and he gets this idea that I can sell something that doesn't exist, which we know, that's actually a great way to test the market. Do people actually want to buy this if I put it out there as if it's already created? And actually in the course creation world, a lot of people will pre-sell a course before they've even built it and then co-create it with someone, right? And that's been a big change in the course creation world, because it used to be that you create the whole thing and then sell it, but now you co-create it. So anyway, the reason that story is important to me is, as I was thinking about, I really wanted inspiration. Like, what do we do with this economic crisis? Like, how do we handle this economic crisis? Because a lot of businesses are going to go out of business. In fact, one of our major competitors, they never announced it and they haven't put it publicly, but they have pivoted and changed. And it's sort of under the radar. But I'm watching a lot of companies, a lot of announcements on LinkedIn. My company, I'm folding my company, and I've given it a good go, but I can't, get through this, etc. And I really want to get through this economic crisis. So I was saying, I really want that moment. I want that ice cream moment. I want that moment where you're doing something totally different. You get inspiration to like change things. Now, the irony here, and I know this is totally aside, and we're going to come back to your story in a second, but I think it's a great story. The irony here is that I then took a day out with my family during one of the half-term breaks when sort of the war was bubbling up, like all these things were starting to happen. And guess where we went? We went to the UK like car museum, right? So we go to the car museum. And, we're walking around, like my family does love cars. So we're walking around, we're looking at all the cars, and I land on this plaque for Morris Cars. And it's the story of Morris Cars. Now, I live in East Oxford, and Morris Cars were made literally a street away from me.
Isn't it Cowley?
Yes.
Cowley, yeah.
Yes. And I am like attached to Cowley, right? Like I can get to Cowley really quickly. So Morris Cars, made in Cowley, unbelievable story. So I watched the video, and I ended up watching it twice. It's a little 15-minute video, and it talks about how when the Depression hit, he created the $100 car, and like 98 of his competitors went out of business. He stayed in business because he created the affordable car. And then when the war hit, he changed and he started creating weapons instead of cars. Right? Because that's where the money was at the time. And then he went back to making cars. But he survived 72 years as a business. His business survived 72 years, and he was at the helm of it for 72 years. And what was really interesting was he just adapted. As the economy changed, he just adapted. And so many of the car companies just went out of business during that time. Like 98 car companies went out of business, or 98%. I can't remember the exact numbers. It was a lot of car companies that went out of business. And eventually he got, bought by a Chinese company, et cetera. But what was so interesting about that is that was my ice cream moment. I was like, we can't keep doing this year-long program because people can't afford it in this economy, and they don't have the time for it. They need to get the skills now, and they need to be able to make the money now. So that's why we sort of changed it back to this sort of 6-week accelerator, get people going, get their certificates done. And what's ironic, Benita, and you're going to appreciate this, there's people that did the accelerator. We tested it out over the summer. We did a social media summer school, which was basically the groundwork for the social media accelerator. Just wanted to see how it went. And there's people that have been in the other program, the year-long program, for almost even 2 years, because you can renew and do a second year. And they did their certification in those 6 weeks and hadn't done it for those previous 2 years.
Absolutely. So right. And I think, the two things that really jump out at me there for me are, how TechPixies just evolves. It just, it doesn't, just react. It responds to what's going on. You can put out a post. I put out a post very early on. I was really sad and down. I put out a post, and people responded so amazingly well, right at the sort of get-go. And I think it's the same with TechPixies. The way, the courses have evolved, not just because, you've got different staff or anything, but because of the needs of, you listen to people, and isn't it you know, the 7 highly effective people, that guy Covey, who just says, you know, understand first and then be understood, you know, later. And that's what you do. And I think that's what people should, you know, whoever's sort of thinking of joining the accelerator, you know, is to just 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, do it, you know, dive in, do it. And you with TechPixies will evolve. You know, you're perhaps, if you wanted to sort of, you know, for me, I joined the program that was available to me then, because I wanted to be financially independent. I'm not financially independent now, but I will be. But what I've discovered over the time is that that's the end goal. That's a goal. But all the other elements that have, you know, have come into play have just been incredible. And
yeah, the foundational work you have to do in
Yeah.
order to become financially independent. That's the thing. There is a groundwork that has to be done to get to the place where you are financially independent. And like you said, you're not now, but it's really you're not yet, right? You're working towards it, and you're laying the groundwork, and you're working towards that vision. Let's talk about the vision, because one of the things that you did, and we offer this to our students, whether they've gone through the program or not, we recognize so much of TechPixies is about the mindset shifts and about the subconscious reprogramming and about the neurocoaching, that actually I decided last year to launch a fully life coaching program. Like, it's just life coaching and neurocoaching. So you did the social media training, you learned how to use social media, you're leveraging social media to launch your business, which we'll talk about in a minute. But you also recognized, I got to do some more life coaching because I have a vision for my life that I want to work through. And so you did our Dream Builder program, starting with the vision workshop. So let's talk about, because I think it's important, they're 2 totally different programs. One is focused very much on social media and the things that come up as you, from a life coaching perspective, as you do social media: perfectionism, imposter syndrome, compare and despair, those things. The other one is just totally separate from the social media, and it's very focused on what would I love in the 4 areas of my life, in love and relationships, health and well-being, creative career and creative expression, and vocation and creative expression, and time and money freedom. And we do this vision workshop, and we create a vision, and then in the Dream Builder program, we massage that vision, we stretch that vision, we play with that vision, and we also learn some really incredible things, like how to respond and not react, and we deal with forgiveness, and there's all sorts of other things we deal with. So what was your experience like doing Dream Builder and the vision that you've been crafting? How important is that for this next phase of your life?
Unbelievably, totally unbelievably. I have never been on a course that I have loved, or a program that I have loved so much. It is just pure cloud, you know, just sitting on a cloud. It was just, I loved it. And you know, it sounds airy fairy, you know, Dream Builder. People, solving spaces is to do with interior design and zero net carbon builds. So when I said I was on the Dream Builder, people thought, oh, she's, you know, working with builders, you know, and getting your dream house, you know. And no, it's not that. It could be, but the group of women that you're with, and there may be men in the future, who knows, but the women anyway, you're on this journey, and they've got fantastic dreams, and you're a part of it. And you've got your own dream as well, and you share it. You know, sometimes you feel, initially, before I started, I'd feel a bit silly. You know, somebody's going to think, oh, God, really? And, you know, it's not just in vocation, you know, in your career. It's in other aspects of your life. And so, therefore, you would feel a bit silly. But you are encouraged to do a vision statement, which concentrates on those 4 areas, and write it as if it's happening now. And actually, it really made me smile. I mean, one of my things, you know, I am single. I'm very happy being single, but I had to write about love and relationships. And, you know, what springs to mind is, you know, an intimate, not intimate, you know what I mean, just, you know, a sort of good relationship, you know, a boyfriend, you know, a partner or whatever. And I wrote that, and I know you read it and go through it. And actually, it's just, it's just really lovely. Just actually not having fun with those things that you might have been fearful about, that nothing would change, you know, financial freedom, time management, money management, you know, that kind of thing. I adored it. And you listen to lessons during the week, and then you meet up at the end of the week, and you do exercises that are not, you know, they're not do alive or anything like that. They just encourage you to really dig deep and just think, what do I want? What do I love? You know, and it's that kindness to yourself. And it's not sheer indulgence. It's just totally understanding who you are, you know, and what you want and how you want to be in the world. And along the way, you know, you might have a business idea that you get clarity with, which I did. And there were other girls. I mean, I'm wearing my T-shirt. You can't see it. But this is Northern Brights. You know, they, two gorgeous sisters, Han and Jess. You know, their thing was to work as a, you know, their dream was to work together, set up a business, which they'd started, but they then evolved and got clarity on how they wanted to call it, and how they wanted to incorporate their dad, who they lost 3 years ago, and he's part of it. And you know, I feel privileged that I was part of that journey as well. So it's not just my own journey. It was that. And you know, I've met one of the girls in person, Heine, who is just so funny and so fantastic. So, oh my goodness, Joy, thank you so much for incorporating that as part of the TechPixies, you know, pot of guacamole that you can dip into. It has
the
just
pot of
been...
guacamole. I suppose it's different dips, right? Dream Builder's the guacamole. TechPixies is the melted
Exactly.
cheese.
It is. And, you know, I'd almost say
You
that
can
do the
choose what
dream
you
builders.
want.
I know, but do the dream builders and then do the accelerator. You know, if you want to improve your social media skills because you know, have suffered a loss, you want to change career or you want to get a job, maybe the dream builders first and then go on to the accelerator. And I think you'd really get loads out of the accelerator.
And we've had people do both now. I've had some people come and do Dream Builder first, and then they go do the accelerator. That's definitely happened. We've had a couple lovely people do that, and then we've had some people who've done the TechPixies course and then said, "Oh, you know, the Dream Builder is exactly what I needed to get clarity on now. What I want to use this for," which I think happened to you. So, you know, it's and like you said, there's lots of options, and it's what's right for you. And you know, we've now got a group of lovely alumni who have done both programs, and they are helping us take calls with people that are thinking about, do I want to join TechPixies and which program is right for me? Because now we've got sort of a suite of programs, not just the one. And so we've said, if you want to book a call with someone, you just go to techpixies.com/book a call, and you can just request a call back. And one of our really beautiful, lovely alumni, just like Benita, will call you and just listen to you and find out where you're at and figure out what works, you know, what's the best program for you, because and what order to do it in, etc. But I also love the fact that so many of our students have come back and done a second program or a third program. And that's really, it's been a blessing to see how the community has supported the company in coming back and doing more, and also that we've been able to develop programs that people want to do more of. So let's just talk about some of the things we go through in Dream Builder. So one of the things we talk about pretty early on is that sense of deserving, right? That it's not is the dream, am I worthy of the dream? Is the dream worthy of me, right? Like, is the dream worthy of my time, energy, effort, and money? So if you have a dream to launch a business, or you have a dream to you know, have a boyfriend or a partner or whatever, you know, is that dream, it's not, am I worthy of that dream? It's, well, do I want to put my time, energy, and effort into making that dream become a reality? Because the dreams that we have come, you know, from us. When we come from the dream, they're already inside us. We just have to really go there and find them. And that's a huge part of it. But that sense of deserving, we also talk about shifting mindset from lack to abundance, really seeing the world as a world of abundance, and understanding that we are part of this an abundant universe. And And then we also talk about forgiveness, and we also talk about, and we do some meditations on forgiveness and really give some tools. And it's really about tool building for all sorts of different things, responding versus reacting, and just really metacognition, noticing what you're noticing, being aware of your thoughts, how they're impacting your decisions and your results as a result of your actions or inaction. And then really this concept of we're blueprinting the dream, where we're crafting the dream, then we're bridging, which is this kind of bridging the gap between where I am now and where I want to be, and then we're building it. And I think you've moved through the blueprinting and you're sort of in the bridging building phase right now. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, on the career sort of thing, yes, definitely. But as a person, I'm definitely in the building bit. And I think it's like a really good book, and when I got to the end, and I'm not going to do a spoiler, don't worry. When I got to the end and I listened to the last lesson, I thought, I know what the answer is. I know it. And then when they said it, I was going for a walk, and when they said, what it was, I just, this huge, warm, overwhelming feeling of, this is brilliant. This is brilliant. This is now automatic. Because there was a point, Joy, where when I was on the longer program, I thought, oh my God, what am I going to do if I don't have joy in my life? If I don't have the tech pixie, holding my hand, on the roadmap, I won't be able to cope, kind of thing. I need that to sort of know how to do Instagram and how to do this, that, and the other. But by doing the Dream Builder, those tools that I learned on the way are automatic now. And they come out in I hope they come out in my expression of how I respond to things, never getting stressed. And I know people say, it's good to have a bit of stress, of course, but I don't see that as stress. I see that as sort of, performance nerves, that kind of thing, rather than stress. And I've got those tools and they're automatic now. And that is just a wonderful place to be. So yeah, I do, I want to give back to Tech Pixies in a way now, rather than, oh my gosh, please don't leave, don't stop holding my hand. And just be involved and respond to posts and, my many star pods that I've been, which are groups who help you with accountability, and you meet up in your own sort of time on Zoom, and it's up to you to keep it going. And many of us do. There are lots of different things. Sophie Rose Simmons, I was on a star pod at the very, very beginning with her. Look at her now, and listen to her track that she plays. She's a musician. So
yes, and we're filming this on the 7th of September, and her first single releases on the 9th. And it's very exciting, and that's just it. And we've interviewed Sophie, so we'll put the link to her interview in the show notes, where she sings a little bit of the Tech Pixie anthem, which she wrote for us, which I just absolutely love. But that's just it. You meet people, and then you see them as they become who they are, and that's the bottom line is, you blueprint your vision, you bridge towards it. Mentally you bridge towards it. Where am I now? Where do I want to be? And mentally keep focused on where you want to be. You start building it, right? But at the end of the day, it's who you become in the process. It's, as I'm doing this, who am I becoming? And that, notice what you're noticing, and having all of these tools. And like you said, I'm not nervous, I'm strong, and I can see that as performance. It's that performance thing. I said to my kids, like, being excited and nervous is the same thing. You just have to choose, do I want to be excited or do I want to be nervous? And they're the same emotions, same chemical reactions. So we have control over how we think. And until we realize that, we don't have control, right? And I think that's
really true. And what's going on, knowing what's going on inside of you, if you're hanging out in the fear part of your being, then you'll never make a decision. Nobody makes decisions on fear. No child learns if they're fearful. So having an overbearing teacher who's you're frightened of punishment, they're not going to learn in that sort of atmosphere either. So if you can elevate yourself from the fear, and just this is a concept I read the other day. I think it's called the silver technique, and it was just really And just, fear at the bottom, data, which is information and learning, and then emotion, which, my ex-partner just said, oh, you're too emotional. But actually, emotion is required to make every single decision. It's the final thing that makes you make that decision. Which car are we going to get? I really like the Mini, I really like the Citroen. They're both exactly the same, but I like the blue. I like the blue. So there's the emotion bit, the blue. It's a almost nonsense element, but it's the one that makes you make that decision. So emotion is important, and recognizing it as being important. So getting in the sweet spot, which is above the fear and going in between the data and the emotion, is the best place to be in order to to make decisions and so on. And I can't remember why I decided I wanted to tell you that, other than I learned it while I was on your journey.
I love it, but it's so important, and it's what you've just said is really great, and it's such a great explanation of why emotion is important. I mean, in both of the programs, the main programs that we run, and we have more than just two now, but in the Accelerator and also in Dream Builder, we introduce this concept of brain priming. And it's really this idea that there's a situation that you're facing, and you have thoughts and emotions around that situation. And the thoughts and emotions repeated over and over again create a belief system. And we make our decisions out of that belief system. So exactly what you're saying is very important. Your thoughts create emotions, right? And you're talking about going between the data and the emotion. The thing is one of the ways you can get yourself to do something is to actually ramp up the emotion, right? And in the De Silva technique, one of the things they teach you is actually to ramp up the discomfort so that you take action, right? It's an interesting, instead of spending a lot of time in what I would love, it's almost like, what don't I love, so that I stop doing it, right? If you can almost turn up the emotion that comes with not doing the thing that you want to do in life, and what that would actually do for you. Like, if you decide you're going to stop eating dinner and just eat Ben and Jerry's every night, that, like, I'm not going to have chicken ever again, and I'm only going to eat Ben and Jerry's, that's going to have a life impact on you. So what the point is in the De Silva technique, you're going to sit there and you're going to go, let's imagine I ate Ben and Jerry's every night for dinner for the rest of my life, what that would do to my life and how bad I would feel. Like, it's a great treat every once in a while, but it's not a food replacement for a meal, right? Mm-hmm. So you turn up, and this is a really bad example, but you turn up the volume on how awful you would feel. It might, the momentary satisfaction of it, but the long-term nutrition deficit it's going to cause. Or let's take something that's not food. Let's take working late at night. That was a problem I had for a very, very long time, and occasionally you will still find me working late at night, but it used to be habitual for me. Yeah. And it wasn't until I read books on the impact of sleep on performance, and basically if you're working at 3 a.m, it's the equivalent of being drunk. I mean, it's the same. The what's happening in your brain is very similar to being drunk, right? Which is why it's not advisable that you drive through the night, right? Because it's dangerous. So it's that concept that if you know the science, right, of sleep deprivation, and there's some incredible books out there. Arianna Huffington has one, I think, called Sleep. I only had to read about half of it, and I was like, I don't need to read any more of this. I got to start sleeping. But the point is that was one of my problems. One of my problems was I was working really, really late at night till 2, 3, 4 in the morning every night, because that's when a house was quiet and everyone was asleep. And I hadn't planned my day properly in order to accommodate for that kind of work. And once I read the books, I had the pain and the facts. Like, if I don't start sleeping, I'm going to open myself up to all sorts of problems later on in my life. Yeah. Right. Memory problems and cognitive problems, and also now being a student of the brain, it was not good. So the De Silva technique and that concept of let's turn up the pain a little bit, right? Let's turn up the emotion a little bit around the pain. That really helps, because you go, all right, I actually want to be able to function in 3 decades from now. And what happens now matters. So, what we put in our bodies, the sleep we get, et cetera, those matter. And the same thing with exercise. You decide, well, what would happen if I never exercised again, right? And what is that going to do to my mobility? You know, if we can go 20 years from now, if I decide I'm going to stop doing any exercise and I'm just going to sit on the couch for the rest of my life, and we can make this extreme, right? But if you were to think about the mobility issues that would come from not moving by
and
deciding
on you, but on other people, you know, the emergency services, you know, having to call a special ambulance, you know, just, it's not just on you. It's a much broader, you know, thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's the ability to play with emotions
Mm-hmm.
in a positive way, to say, right, if I were to eat Ben and Jerry's every night, and I were to not sleep at all, and I was to stop exercising, how painful would my life become? And knowing that pain is something you don't want to do could be the motivator that says, right, I'm going to go make a chicken dinner, I'm going to go to bed at 10, and I'm getting up to run in the morning, right? The other side of the emotion, if you know, from the pain of the emotion, is what would it feel like to finish the, you know, to cross the finish line of that half marathon? What would it feel like to do a 5K? What would it feel like to have the most amazing nutritional dinner, right? What would it feel? Because we all know what it feels like. I do love Ben and Jerry's, but I will say, when I did my very first launch, I have told this story before, but it's been a long time. When I did my very first launch, which was the very first online cohort of TechPixies, and I think it was cohort 14 is the very first cohort we did online. We don't do cohorts anymore. But I did the launch, and I literally sat down and ate an entire tub of cookie dough ice cream. And it felt great as I was eating it. And then afterwards, I felt awful, right? And I felt really, really awful afterwards. And I know that about myself with ice cream. Like because I also have a dairy intolerance, so it's not a good idea. It's like a double whammy. So I know I can have like one and I'm fine. One scoop, not a tub, but I can have a scoop. But the thing that's so interesting about this, and I know we have a point here. There is a point here. But the thing that's so interesting about it is that these memories that we have, these memories of emotions, and they're very important, and we have to play with them, and we have to leverage them to help us make change in our life, right? If we don't want to do something, we have to leverage them to stop doing it. And if we want to start doing something, we have to leverage them to start doing it. And, you know, on the other hand, I've also had, you know, the most amazing, I went to a dinner recently with some friends, and I ended up going for the veggie meal because I'd never tried it before. And it was the most beautiful plate of all of these colors, and you know, and I ate it, and afterwards I was like, I feel amazing. Like you know, versus the Ben and Jerry's. So anyway, I know this isn't supposed to be a discussion around food, but of course, one of the things that comes up in Dream Builder is health and well-being, and we have to think about that. And so, you know, on the one hand, you can use the emotions of what I don't want in order to fire you up to make it change, which is very much the De Silva method. And then you have this sort of Dream Builder method, which is, let's create the motion of everything we do want and get in alignment with that, and every day work towards it. And they're both valuable in their own ways, depending on what you're trying to do, and also depending on how different people are motivated, right? Not everyone's motivated the same way. People need different ways of looking at things. You know, that's why there's so many different life coaching programs out there. That's why there's so many different, you know, neuro coaching programs out there. And it's really because everyone deals with things differently, and one thing's going to resonate with one person is not going to resonate with another person. So you have to find a program that resonates with you. But we do spend a lot of time at Dream Builder going, what would I love? And what would that feel like? And what would I have, you know, this, I've got my straw hat joy, right?
White bikini, straw hat joy. Yeah.
White bikini, straw hat joy.
And you know what, Joy? I've even started visualizing that, which is like, I don't, but you know, so I think white bikini, straw hat joy. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and white bikini, straw hat joy is like this amazingly, you know, healthy woman who's happy. She's healthy and wealthy in every aspect of life, you know, family, love, income, you know, health, physically, you know, and it's just this, and I love hanging out with her, because the thing she tells me every time I hang out with Straw Hat Joy is, It's all going to work out. It's all going to be okay. And that's the vibrational tone I love. And whenever I get into a place where I'm like, I don't know if this is going to work out, I try very quickly to go hang out with Straw Hat Joy, because she just says, don't, it's all going to work out. And she doesn't even say, don't worry. She says, it's all going to work out. It's all good. You know, because even those little words that we say, you know, oh, no worries, no problem, we learn we have to get rid of those. We have to say, my pleasure, all good, you know, and shift the conversation. It's very, very important. But we have two major tools that we can use to change our lives. The first one is our thought. The second one is our emotion. And our thought very often leads to the emotion. Sometimes the emotion leads to the thought. But if we can get a handle of one of the two of those, we can really change things. And
exactly, one of the universal things that on all the programs, and I learned it through Dream Builders, is that, you know, our thoughts affect our emotions, which affects our actions. So if we're always finding ourselves thinking negatively, or I'm not good enough, well, then it will reflect in our actions. You know, we will be looking, our brain will be looking for things to reinforce that fact. So stop doing that, because that's not the cuddle you deserve, you know. And that on the Dream Builder just really strongly reminds you that you must, if you should recognize when you're on a low energy, and I don't mean low energy as in falling asleep, but low energy as in, you know, negativity, it's not going to work out, I'm a failure, you know, I can't do this. And you recognize when that's happening, and then quickly get yourself back up into the high energy one, which would be Straw Hat Joy saying, it's going to be okay. You know, you can do that. And the quicker you learn that tool, the happier and the more, you know, the more things happen. The more things happen in a really positive way. The other thing I wanted to say as well about TechPixies is and Dream Builders is the books. You suggest books, and I'm not a fantastic reader. You know, I realized when my son was diagnosed with mild dyslexia and would get reading fatigue that was me. So audible, being able to listen to books and do two things at once, which, you know, normally we wouldn't say multitask, you know, we're brilliant. That's not true. You know, you focus on one task, but you can go for a walk and you can listen to a book, you know, which for me ticks the box of I'm multitasking. And the books that you have recommended or other TechPixies have recommended have just been great. But fundamentally, all the ones that talk about, you know, how to improve your life are, say, you know, you design things twice, don't you? First in thought and then in form. And it's so true. It's so true. So, you know, what you think is what you will create. So think of something good, because you want to create something good. So
absolutely. And where your attention goes, your energy flows. And we say that all the time. So, Benita, I love it. I've really enjoyed spending time with you. I mean, I've been so lucky. I mean, I love doing alumni interviews because I love hearing where people are at. And, you know, the most important thing to me is you are on this journey to where you want to be, and you're doing it with power and with strength, and you will get there. And I know you will. And that's the fun part, is that you're on your way. And now you can be a mentor to those who are coming through the programs. And I love that.
Yeah.
So if people want to find out about Solving Spaces, where do they go?
Well, you can go to my Instagram. I've got, you know, not a great deal is happening, but I love it. Well, yet I'm doing lots of things. I'm signed up to do a BTEC HNC in interior design. So, you know, that's my love of learning. I wanted to get I've got a degree somewhere else, but it's not relevant to what I want to be doing now. So go to my Instagram, which is solving_spaces. And what I love is you don't have to spend a huge amount of money on your home. It's just like subtle changes. Because your home is somewhere, and I'm half Scandinavian, I'm half Norwegian, and home is really important. You know, there are many words that you've heard in the last few years, you know, the Danish, which is hygge, which, you know, means, you know, intimate moment. And then you've got the Norwegian, which is koselig, you know, cozy. And in your home, where you recharge, you should be at your best. So solving spaces is all about your home, you in it, and how you make it your best. And I showcase what I'm doing in my home at the moment. And I love it. A home is really...
I love it too. Well, I want people to go check you out if they want to learn all about what you're doing. And thank you for your energy, your spirit, and for being just a stellar tech pixie. And I hope you have encouraged some people to take the plunge and do the Dream Builder program, because I think it really is a very great follow-on program to Tech Pixies, or as you said, it can be a really great precursor. And we'll be starting a new cohort at the end of September, depending on when you're listening to this. That's we're filming it 7th of September 2022. So we'll be doing a new cohort then. We have a vision workshop coming up. You can find out about that at techpixies.com/vision workshop. And thanks again, Benita. Really appreciate it. Have a fantastic day. And thank you to those of you watching and listening as well. I hope you also have a wonderful day.
Thank you.